Welcome to this explainer of my life's darkest, most carefully guarded work. Picture us standing together right now in the high, cloud-shrouded spires of the Silver Peak. The air is dangerously thin up here, and all the comforting illusions of the world just fall away. I am the scholar Alaric, and today I'm going to walk you through my own personal diatribe. I'm going to hand you the exact blueprint of how I completely abandoned human sincerity just to survive in a ruthless world. Consider this your formal introduction to the architecture of the void. For years, I actually believed that knowledge and truth were these ultimate virtues. But then I suffered a pretty agonizing revelation. Truth is a heavy stone that sinks its bearer. You see, in the real world, carrying around the unvarnished truth is a totally deadly burden. Why? Because sincerity makes you predictable, and predictability makes you incredibly vulnerable. If you insist on being perfectly honest all the time, the sheer weight of it will literally drown you. I had to drop that stone. I had to ditch human sincerity entirely just to keep my head above the turbulent waters of ambition. So many fools hold on to this naive belief that the world is some gentle garden, right? A place that just needs nurturing and sincerity to bloom. Well, I had to mock that belief to survive. Because the harsh reality is that this world is a chessboard. It's not governed by sunshine and goodwill. No. It is governed entirely by cold, analytical precision and calculated logic. To actually master this chessboard, I forged something I call the obsidian mirror. Think of it as my own conceptual lens. When I look through it, I don't just see people. I see the tangled web of their human shadows. I can actually see the secret levers of fear, pride, and scarcity that dictate their every single move. By looking through this dark glass, you expose the hidden vulnerabilities that move everyone, from the highest kings to the lowest beggars. Now, this lens was absolutely essential for my survival. I call my first great application of it the alchemy of the scapegoat. Years ago, I paid what I call the price of the altar. I was standing in the smoking ruins of a failed rebellion, and a furious mob was demanding blood. The mob's rage, it's like a deadly lightning bolt. It has to strike somewhere. So I directed that lightning. I orchestrated this whole theater of calculated purification by just pointing my finger at a visible fool. That blighted sacrifice grounded the mob's lightning, and I walked away entirely unscathed. That day taught me a permanent lesson, a literal, absolute law. An apology is merely a scent that draws wolves. I say this coldly because it's true. I never apologize. To apologize is to bleed in front of predators. By sacrificing others instead of admitting fault, I restored my own flawless aura. The wolves absolutely tore apart the scapegoat, and they left the perfect scholar completely alone. After I survived that, I retreated to what I call the Library of Echoes. It was there that I mastered the siren silence, and I realized a truly profound truth about us. The human mind is a frantic architect. When people are faced with silence and uncertainty, their minds desperately build scaffolds of terror. I realized I didn't even need to threaten my enemies anymore. I just needed to give them an informational vacuum. By weaponizing silence, I could literally just sit back and let their own minds construct their absolute worst nightmares. Think about it. Why would anyone exhaust themselves using the raw, destructive fire of spells or outward aggression? It's just incredibly inefficient. The ultimate victory lies in forcing your rivals to dismantle their own minds. When you meet an adversary with a gaze as cold and empty as a winter moon, offering them absolutely nothing but an impenetrable void, they panic. They completely unravel themselves under the sheer weight of their own terrifying imaginings. But here's the catch. To wield this void, I actually had to become it. This required a descent into the forge of the hollowed soul. It was a systematic self-destruction in the white flame of transformation. Step 1, I burned away my lust. Step 2, I stripped away all my anger. And the third, which was by far the most painful, I destroyed that desperate, totally human need to be known and understood. I burned away every last vulnerability, until there was literally nothing remaining. From that forge, I emerged wearing the iron mask of the courtier. Because, you see, any expression on a face, whether it's joy, sorrow, or frustration, is merely a target for a blow. I became a void wrapped in silk, just a vessel of pure utility, completely stripped of true emotion, yet perfectly capable of mimicking whatever appetite or sympathy is required to ruin whoever happens to be standing in my way. Let me just turn my chilling gaze directly to you for a moment. Do you still believe in the brilliance of your own light? Do you still crave recognition and want to be center stage? I'm telling you right now, it is a terribly foolish adherence to visibility. Your desire to be seen and admired, that is exactly what makes you so incredibly easy to destroy. Let me share a little something called the lesson of the masked sun. The masked sun tries to outshine its master. It seeks glory, and inevitably, it invites the executioner's axe. But the moon produces absolutely no light of its own. It merely reflects. I chose to be the moon. I reflect the brilliance of those in power, just to stroke their egos, while I quietly and invisibly manipulate the shadows cast by that exact same light. And a huge part of manipulating those shadows involves mastering the law of the empty chair. This is essentially a weapon of absence. By executing a deliberate, strategic withdrawal, you trigger that frantic architect in the minds of your allies and rivals. Because you aren't there to explain yourself, their minds totally panic. And in that panic, they build a towering monument to your importance. Watch how beautifully this absence operates in practice. After one moon of unexplained withdrawal, confusion sets in. 2 moons? The frantic mental scaffolding begins. They start wondering if they offended you or if you hold some kind of secret power. By the 3rd moon, the trap is fully set. Upon my return, the psychological inflation of my worth is so absolute that my most mundane, simple words are suddenly treated like divine oracles. And when I do choose to interact, I never fight my enemies directly. No way. Instead, I use the vampire's invitation. It is the absolute dark art of mirroring. I reflect a target's colors, their dialect, their deepest unspoken beliefs. I project this glamorous, flawless facade, making them believe they have finally found their twin soul. I literally entice them to unlatch the heavy iron gates of their own defenses from the inside. I can't even describe the grim satisfaction of watching this illusion take hold. Once they believe in the twin soul, they don't just tolerate me, they welcome me. They actively beg for the bite of a savior. They surrender everything, never realizing until the very last drop is drained that their beautiful savior is, in fact, a parasite orchestrating their total destruction. But what about the dangerous tasks, right? The grim, unsavory work required for true power. Well, for that, I use the necromancer's puppet. I keep my bone-white robes totally unstained by animating someone else, maybe a visible fool, an ambitious rival, or an eager apprentice. I use them as a cat's paw. I funnel all that dangerous, volatile, dark energy right through them, forcing them to do the dirty work, while they genuinely think it was their own brilliant idea. And the ultimate result is just inevitable. You exhaust your soul, you ruin your reputation, playing with fires you really don't understand. Meanwhile, I stand perfectly clean, perfectly composed, positioned safely above the ashes of your ruined life. And when you finally collapse under the weight of your own ambition, I am right there, completely unblemished, ready to step in and offer the final blessing, claiming the ultimate victory for myself. This entire twisted journey leads to one ultimate destination, my final evolution, strategic self-erasure. I am quite literally a ghost in my own skin, with no true heart for an assassin to strike. I have shed the sincere, vulnerable scholar entirely. There's no core identity left to be wounded, or betrayed, or killed. I've become an untouchable phantom, totally immune to the daggers of this world, because, well, there is no me left to bleed. And so, we reach the very foundation of the architecture of the void. My ultimate goal was never just to survive or hide in the dark. It was to command the lightning from the shadows. By becoming a soulless reflection, by mastering the dark, and stripping away my humanity, I have won. I am the predator who secretly orchestrates the very storms you so desperately fear. So I leave you with this final thought. Now that you know how the chessboard is truly played, what will you sacrifice to survive?